So I've just finished watching the CONCACAF Champions League first rounder, and there are some good news and bad news in terms of tonight's matchup between the Sounders and Olympia and LAFC versus Lyon. The good news is LAFC is able to complete one of the greatest comeback you will ever see in the CONCACAF Champions League, where they were coming into the night down 2-0 against Club Lyon and had the back against their wall, but they were able to overcome that and won 3-0 against Club Lyon to move on into the quarterfinal against Cruz Azul, and hence that's why I am wearing an LAFC jersey. Well, that's one reason why I'm wearing an LAFC jersey in this preview. There's another reason why I am wearing their jerseys for this preview. So that's the good news. The bad news is Seattle Sounder got upset in the first round of the CONCACAF Champions League as they fall to Honduran side Olympia in a penalty kick shootout, and they were so close of making 5 MLS team being in the quarterfinal. They were up 2-1 heading into the last 4 minutes, and I believe were up 4-3 on aggregates. But unfortunately, Olympia scored in the 87th minute that forced penalty kick shootout, and unfortunately, the Sounders couldn't do what Club America did yesterday, which is able to win a penalty kick shootout to avoid a massive upset in the CONCACAF Champions League. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the life of the CONCACAF Champions League, where you can't have it both way, and that, you know, sometimes if you have one good moment that an MLS team does, the CONCACAF gods demand payment and demand another MLS team to get sacrificed because of the good moments that an MLS team has. And in this case, LAFC had that good moment, but what does it cost in terms of LAFC beating a Liga MX side? Seattle getting knocked out by a Honduran team. But that being said, let's actually now get back into the MLS action, and we are now into part 2 of the MLS preview. Part 1, of course, is, I believe, almost finished uploading. So here's the thing. I was uploading the first part of the MLS Matchweek number 1 preview, and I thought it was going to be finished when I woke up. Well, guess what? When I woke up, I found out that it was only 20% uploaded, and for some reason, my internet decided to not upload the video. So basically, I had to re-upload it tonight, and this is why this video is going to be pushed back to Friday. And, you know, it's kind of frustrating, but I guess that's the way how life sometimes works, and that's the way how my internet works here, as, you know, I really do not get very good internet. And you'll be surprised that most of the time when I upload these big videos that is like 40 or 50 minutes long, that I don't actually upload it here at home because I know the internet here is slow, but instead I actually upload it in the library where the internet is much faster. But that being said, let's actually now get into the first game, since I spent almost 3.5 minutes talk about what happened in CCL and also why part 1 hasn't been uploaded. But in terms of part 2, we're going to look at the 5 Sunday game, and we start off with Columbus taking on NYCFC, and this is going to be a very early start in the West Coast, but it's going to be a lunchtime kickoff in the East Coast, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, where Columbus is going to be taking on NYCFC. And you know, the good news is for this week is that since I am going to be going to LA on Sunday to watch LAFC versus Miami, it really doesn't matter the fact that I need to worry about waking up early to watch a game. And I'll probably try my best in terms of maybe catching a couple of games. I'll probably definitely watch this game as I am at the stadium. But for these 2 games, I'll try to kind of keep some updates, and maybe if I decided to go at a rest stop, I'll probably watch these 2 games for a couple of minutes before I hit back on the road. I mean, it is going to be kind of an insane road trip of me going to LA and then heading back, and that I really don't want to, like, especially I know the fact that I have to wake up in crazy hour to get to LA in time to watch this game. I don't want to take a lot of rest stop in terms of just kind of keeping an eye on some of the earlier games, and in fact I'll probably just kind of watch it in the condensed version later on. But going back to this game between Columbus versus NYCFC, Columbus, of course, finished 10th in the Eastern Conference with 38 points, while NYCFC finished 1st in the Eastern Conference with 64 points. In their last 5 season opener, Columbus, they drew 1-1 against the Redbulls in last year's season opener, won 2-0 against TFC, drew 1-1 against Chicago, lost 2-1 against Portland, and lost 1-0 to Houston in the 2015 season opener. As for NYCFC, they drew 2-2 against Orlando City in last year's season opener, won 2-0 against Sporting KC, lost 1-0 against NYCFC, won 4-3 against Chicago, and drew 1-1 against Orlando City, and I believe that this was also their inaugural game in MLS as they drew 1-1 against another fellow expansion team, Orlando City. Now, in terms of the prediction of this game, I'm going to say NYCFC, and I had a lot to think about this one. I was very tempted to say this is a draw because I know Columbus is a team that is a dark horse coming into this season, and they can really surprise a lot of people, and they're also playing at home in this game. But I just have a feeling, NYCFC, they probably were the most impressive side doing the first round of the CONCACAF Champions League, where they were able to just completely brush aside San Carlos and win 6-3 over aggregates. And you can definitely tell that this squad is going to be a very decent side heading into this season, and that something tells me they can once again repeat what they did last year and finish first in the Eastern Conference, and that, that kind of journey of them potentially grabbing top spot in the Eastern Conference will start against Columbus, and that I think they should have just enough quality to able to overpower Columbus in this game. But I won't be surprised if Columbus does drew this game, because, Columbus is a team that, as I said, they are a dark horse team, and they are playing at home in this game. And, most of the teams in their season opener and most of the team that have their home opener usually are able to get a win in their home opener, even when they are playing against some tough teams. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be the Redbulls. So the Redbulls are playing against FC Cincinnati. This game is going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern time and a 10 a.m. Pacific time. So this game actually starts 30 minutes after the Columbus versus NYCFC game. The Redbulls, of course, finished 6th in the Eastern Conference with 48 points, while FC Cincinnati finished last in the Eastern Conference and also dead last in the entire league and won the Wooden Spoon last year with 24 points. In the last 5 season opener, well, technically for FC Cincinnati, it's the last season opener because this is only their second year of existing in MLS. But for the Redbulls, in their last 5 season opener, they drew 1-1 against Columbus, won 4-0 against Portland, won 2-1 against Atlanta, lost 2-0 against TFC, and drew 1-1 against Sporting KC in the 2015 season opener. And as for FC Cincinnati, their only season opener was last year against Seattle, and despite the fact that they took a surprising 1-0 lead in that game, reality kind of hit them hard after they scored that first goals, as they basically just conceded 4 goals to Seattle in their home opener last season. And something tells me that, despite the fact that I know FC Cincinnati has been improving in terms of this offseason, I'm going to say the Red Bulls should win this one because, there's still so much turmoil that is going on with FC Cincinnati. And, ever since the firing of Ron Yan, and now they're going to have Dame back as their head coach, it's going to be interesting to see how exactly if the players that they, of course, bought this offseason will respond to this turmoil that is going on. And, the Red Bulls, this is a team that I know last season they definitely lost a lot more home games than you probably think the Red Bulls would have done. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that they definitely don't want to get embarrassed in this game by FC Cincinnati, and that despite the fact that FC Cincinnati is much better and they definitely made a lot of improvement heading into this offseason, I just feel like with the instability with just the off-field situation and the fact that they're going through 3 head coaching change in the last season, it's going to be pretty tough in terms of them started to kind of get going again heading into the second season. And people also forget that Domain, he didn't really had a pretty good coaching record with FC Cincinnati. I mean, I know he's very well respected in the FC Cincinnati locker room, which I guess maybe that will help in terms of create a little bit of a stability. But this is a guy that pretty much did almost the same thing that Alan Koch did under FC Cincinnati, which is they keep losing games and they keep struggling in terms of scoring goals. So we'll see how they, of course, will do heading into this second season, and whether or not if they can, of course, finally started to, I'm not expecting them to just go on a crazy run, but at least they need to be a little bit more respectable than the first season that they are in MLS. But I just have a feeling it's not going to happen against the Redbulls, and the Redbulls should have enough quality to win this game. But moving on, in the next match is going to be Seattle versus Chicago. So obviously Seattle, just a couple of minutes ago, fresh off of probably the biggest upset in CCL this season by losing to Honduran side Olympia in a penalty kick shootout. But despite the fact that they're going to be a bit heartbreak the fact that they lost that game, they have to pick themselves up, because 4 days later they're going to be playing against the Chicago Fire, and this game is going to be a lunchtime kickoff in Seattle, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time. Seattle, of course, won MLS Cup and finished second in the Western Conference with 56 points, while Chicago finished 8th in the Eastern Conference with 42 points. Last 5 season opener for Seattle, they, of course, won 4-1 against FC Cincinnati in the last season opener, but they did lose 1-0 to LAFC, although this was back when LAFC wasn't kind of the team that you pretty much know of today, and that in many ways Seattle should have at least got a draw or even a win in that game, with them just completely outshotting LAFC. But somehow in some way LAFC was able to find a way to score a goal in that game and able to hang on all the pressure that Seattle has. And unfortunately the Sounders weren't able to be clinical in that season opener to get a victory over LAFC. They also lost to Houston the previous year in that season opener 2-1. They lost 1-0 to Sporting KC before winning 3-0 against New England. So Seattle does not really have a good record in terms of season opener, but that's kind of expected when if you not include last season. For the last three season prior to last year, they always tends to get off to a horrendous start, and somehow in some way just miraculously in the second half they just go on a crazy resurgence and somehow finish second in the Western Conference. And I'm not quite sure if that's going to happen again, because last year they kind of proved to people that, hey, we are not just a second half team, and that we can obviously get off to a good start. Now, they are kind of being helped the fact that they are playing a Chicago side that also does not have a good record in terms of season opener. In fact, the Fire season opener in their last 5 seasons has been absolutely dreadful. They lost 2-1 to the Galaxy in last year's season opener, lost 4-3 to Sporting KC, drew 1-1 against Columbus, lost 4-3 again to NYCFC, and lost 2-0 to the Galaxy in the 2015 season opener. So, yeah, with the way that Chicago, since they haven't won a season opener in a while and have lost 4 out of their last 5, and despite the fact that I know the Sounders are gonna be a little bit hurt, the fact that they got knocked out in the CONCACAF Champions League by a very lowly, well, I wouldn't say lowly Olympia side. I want to at least give some respect to some of the Central American team that, by the way, the Central American team in CCL, I was very impressed with the way that they really pushed these Liga MX team and MLS team to the brinks. And in many ways, when you look at yesterday's result with the Central American team, Alianza got very unlucky against Tigres with Tigres scoring a last minute, and it was actually their goalkeeper that scored the last minute winner. And then obviously Comunicacion, very unfortunate against America in the penalty kick shootout and not able to win that. But at least Olympia was able to carry the pride in terms of Central American team, really putting all they can handle to give to these MLS and Liga MX team. But despite that, I don't think Seattle should be that shaken by that, and that I think they should be able to win this game. And I think the other reason why I think they should be able to win this game is that Chicago, despite the fact that I know they have signed some big name player in the recent couple of weeks, including finally getting their DP target that they've been chasing all off season in Gaston Jimenez. These guys, they just came into the squad and they barely had any couple of weeks in terms of getting them in fitness in preseason and also getting the chemistry together. So because of that, I think Chicago could be a little bit lackluster coming into this game against a Seattle team that they know that they're going to be very angry of what happened in the CONCACAF Champions League tonight and looking to try to get their first win of the season. But that being said, moving on into the last game of this board is the game, as I mentioned earlier, I am going to attend, which is LAFC versus Inter Miami, which is going to be a 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. And this kickoff time was a perfect time for me to go down to LA and then come back home on a day trip. But I don't have to come back in ridiculous amount of hours to be back at home. But that being said, I still had to wake up very early to try to get there. Probably maybe more than 2 hours before the kickoff of this game because I want to find some parking in that near that stadium, and also want to get to the game and maybe either watch this one between Seattle versus Chicago, or maybe decided to watch El Clasico, which actually happens this week. I almost forgot that it actually El Clasico is going to be happening this week. So something tells me maybe I'm going to have to put a hold in terms of watching this game and maybe watch the best club soccer game in the world during that time. But I'll probably decide what I'm going to do when I get there. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited about this one, and that, if you wonder where exactly I'm going to be sitting in this game, or if you want to kind of meet me at the stadium, if any LAFC fans is watching this, I'll be sitting in section 111, I believe, and I'll be sitting in the first row. I believe I paid about $175 for this game, which is definitely not cheap. But keep in mind, this is a season opener for LAFC, and they are playing against an Inter Miami team that has got a lot of hype heading into this season. So obviously tickets is not going to be cheap. In fact, last time when I looked at Ticketmaster, tickets was going up to about $250, around the same area that I will be sitting. So I'm very fortunate the fact that I was able to only have to pay $170. And keep in mind, those $250 that I mentioned you will get on SeatGeeks or Ticketmaster, they're not including fees. So those tickets is going to be upward around $300, and I basically just pay half price in terms of sitting that the seat that would have worth around $300, just because I was able to go on SeatGeeks way before when LAFC had their when they decided to sell tickets on their Ticketmaster account and basically start charging people ridiculous amount of money to attend this game. But in terms of the stats coming into this game and information coming into this game, LAFC of course won Supporters Shield and finished first in the Western Conference with 72 points. Inter Miami playing their first ever game in MLS history, and in the last two season opener, LAFC, they won 2-1 against Sporting KC, and they also won 1-0 against the Seattle Sounders in their inaugural year, and only become the first team since Vancouver back in 2011, I believe, that is able to become an expansion team or become the first expansion team to win their opening game. And as for Miami, like I said, this is the first ever game for them. And, as much as I really want to say that Miami might have a chance in this game and that they might be able to salvage a draw in this game, because, as much as LAFC is definitely on cloud 9 right now after recording a historical result against Club Leon, and that they might have a massive letdown heading into this game against Miami, I'm still going to say LAFC should be able to win this game. And I'm going to be interested to see what does Bob Bradley do in this game and whether or not if he is going to put out most of the starters that play in that game against Lyon that is going to be playing against Inter Miami. Hopefully that is going to be the case because I want to see some of the best player in this LAFC side like Diego Rossi, Carlos Vela, and Brian Rodriguez performing against a Miami team that also have some very decent player in Luis Robles, Rodolfo Pizarro, and all the other decent player in this Miami side. But as much as I know Miami, they definitely can have a squad that could really compete, that could maybe compete against LAFC, and that LAFC might be having a bit of a letdown heading into this game. I still think LAFC should be able to win this, and especially the fact that this team, throughout their first 2 years in MLS, they've only lost twice in the regular season at home. So yeah, Bank of California Stadium is not only a fortress, but it is a house of pain for teams that is coming in, and there is not a lot of team that was not only able to get a win against LAFC when they're playing on the road, but not a lot of team was able to salvage a draw against LAFC when they're playing against them at Bank of California Stadium. So because of that, I expect LAFC to be able to win this game. But I'm now going to be switching the boards and look at the last match of the week from the opening weekend of MLS. And last but certainly not least, it's Portland versus Minnesota to finish off the opening weekend of MLS action, as this game is going to be kicking off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time and 4:30 p.m. local time. And this, of course, is the rematch of the 2017 season opener, and I have no doubt that this game, unlike 2017 when Minnesota got absolutely trounced by Portland 5-1, that there is no way that it's going to be happening again heading into this game. I mean, it's quite amazing how the gap between the Loons and Portland ever since that game has drastically changed, and you could argue that Minnesota might actually even be the better team heading into this game, and especially the fact that just a couple of days ago, both of these teams met in a preseason game at Providence Park, and Minnesota was able to win 4-2 in that game. Now, I know that was preseason, and I know preseason doesn't really matter, but you know, it's still a impressive result of what Minnesota did in that game, and it is pretty clear from what the Loons have done in the preseason. There's definitely a lot of optimism in terms of the fact that they are going to be doing even better than they did last season, and I really hope that, of course, is going to be the case. But obviously, this is going to be a tough task against the Timbers, who last season they finished 6th in the Western Conference with 49 points, while Minnesota finished in their best franchise or best season in their franchise history and finished their highest position in franchise history in 4th place in the Western Conference with 53 points. Last 5 season opener for Portland, they drew 3-3 in that famous Snow Classico game against the Colorado Rapids that I mentioned in the first part of this preview. They lost 2-1 to the Galaxy, won 5-1 against Minnesota in that first edition between both of these teams in the season opener, and they won 2-1 against Columbus and drew 0-0 against RSL in the 2015 season opener. As for Minnesota, this is their 4th season opener, and in their last 3 season opener, besides the 3-2 win against Vancouver, which was the first time the Loons was able to win a season opener, the last 2 times the resort hasn't really been kind to them. They lost 3-2 to the Quakes in their 2017 or 2018 season opener, and as I mentioned, in the 2017 season opener, they lost 5-1 against the Portland Timbers. And by the way, I just realized that I actually left my black pen on my desk, so I'm going to quickly grab it here. So, yeah, in terms of my prediction, you know, as I said, ever since that 5-1 demolition that the Loons have suffered, they have come a long way in terms of the quality between them and the Portland Timbers. And because of that, I'm going to say it's going to be a draw between Minnesota versus Portland. And again, back in my season prediction. I might have been a little bit biased putting the Loons that high in the table, and kind of being a little biased showing that I have a lot of optimism that this team not only could do what they did last season, but do one even better than what they did last season and finish near the top part of the table. And, against a Portland Timbers side that, they have made some addition heading into this season, but there's always that big question of the fact that can they actually break down a team? And, if you're Minnesota, I'm guessing they'll probably try to maybe bunker in this game, and knowing the fact that they also have one of the best defense in the league, it's going to be incredibly tough for the Timbers if they're elected to try to break down this Minnesota team that is very organized at the back. But having said that, this Loons team also have some big threat going over on the attack too. And, as much as we have seen some of these big threat and some of these new signings like Luis Amiela has really stepped up to his team and have already shown some flashes of why Minnesota decided to chase him. The question is, can they of course play on the counter attack, and is there going to be that playmaker of a player, which I thought for sure it was going to be Reynoso, but there's still no announcement that Reynoso is coming to Minnesota, which tells me that either that deal probably is not going to happen, or the fact that it's going to happen, but it's going to happen during this season. So we'll see how this game, of course, would go. But for now, I'm going to say it's going to be a draw between Minnesota and Portland in this game to close out the opening weekend of MLS action. And yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for all the games that I have mentioned in this opening weekend's action. As usual, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Don't forget, let me know in the comments below what do you think is going to happen in these 5 games, and make sure you leave your prediction below in terms of these 5 games that's going to be happening on Sunday. And I think I forgot to even mention yesterday that also you want to leave a comments below of talk about what's the first 8 games is going to happen in the first day of the 2020 MLS season. But you can also leave your prediction here in the second video and in the second part of the opening weekend preview of these 2 videos. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm so excited the fact that MLS is finally back, and again, I'm going to try to watch as much soccer as possible, even though I know on Saturday I'm going to be going to the Quakes game, and that on Sunday I will be on the road pretty much the full day when I go down to LA to watch LAFC take on Inter Miami. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.